What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Radpack podcast, and I'm your host, Garrett from Born to Be Rad, a.k.a. the Rad Influencer.
And I'm Mel from My Killer Podcast, a.k.a. the Rad Hatter.
And I'm Justin from Movie Watch Daily, a.k.a. the Rad Rancher, and we are the Radpack.
Today we sit down with artist, illustrator, graphic designer, and frontman of post-hardcore bands Dead and Divine and Ritual, whose work can be seen on everything from book covers, boutique Blu-rays, and album covers, but he may be best well known as a major player in the alternative movie poster space. Matt, Ryan, Tobin, and now your hosts, Garrett, Mel, and Justin. Welcome to the Radpack.
All right, gang, welcome back. We are here with Matt Ryan Tobin, graphic designer and illustrator, who's done all these posters that you see behind me. I mean, again, his stuff is everywhere. It's on vinyls. It's on steelbooks. I mean, this guy is all over the place. I just found out you're on books, too. I didn't own any, but Mel does. So she just kind of showcased those to me right now, which I think is really rad.
Oh, right on. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm newish to the books. Yeah.
Oh, yeah? So welcome to the Radpack podcast, man. We appreciate you being on here.
Thank you for having me.
Being huge fans of yours, I want to kind of go back. I think this is kind of a perfect time to do this show because my favorite movie, and I know Mel's too, it's one of our favorites, is The Lost Boys. And your print just got to us like yesterday. Yeah. And you can kind of see it in the back here. Yeah. So we want to make sure to get them right up here. But man, I loved it. And it was so cool to see you do that again because my all-time favorite screen print that I own was the Lost Boys one. It's actually right here, but you can't see it. It's the Santa Carla Boardwalk one with everybody's faces.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that print, and I was so happy to see that you kind of hit Lost Boys up again. Now, what kind of brought that back? Are you kind of going back to the well and doing some of your older stuff like in again?
You're not completely wrong. Like, there's part of me that, there's stuff that I did years ago, and a lot of it was like sort of private commission based. So it wasn't really licensed. And I think in my brain too, I was also attempting concepts and compositions that I don't think I was up to par to pull off, that I kind of want to revisit. You know what I mean? I kind of want to George Lucas some things all the time. You know what I mean? Go back and change it, even though that's kind of faux pas. But with Lost Boys, there's actually, so that was like a Texas Frightmare exclusive. And the folks at Mondo hit me up and asked me if I wanted to do something for the event. And then I think they suggested Trick or Treat, doing a poster for Trick or Treat. And then I said, well, Alex Winter is going to be at Texas Frightmare. I was like, so can we do Lost Boys? And then they're like, yep. And then that was okay.
Nice.
So yeah.
That was a smart move, man. You know what I mean? People go to conventions, they see that poster, they're like, I'll get this sign. I mean, it's like a win-win, you know?
Yeah, right. It was really cool because Alex and I have known each other for quite a few years, but we've only ever talked, online and via email and stuff. But I've done a lot of stuff for the Bill and Ted franchise. And so we've kind of gotten really friendly over the years. And it was my first time to actually get to meet him in person. And it was like meeting your long lost brother or something after, like years and years and years. And this is a dude I also looked up to forever. So yeah, it was really cool. Cool how it all worked out.
Well, speaking of that, again, going back to my introduction to you, I get into the kind of the poster game. I don't know. It might have been the screen print game, maybe like 2009, 2010, I think. And I was just buying things that I thought were cool. And I remember buying the True Romance one. I think it was from like Odd City or something like that, like the red and the gold and stuff like that. And I had it signed by Christian Slater. I was all excited about it. And then all of a sudden I saw this Lost Boys one get dropped. I think alongside like Halloween. It was all like part of the same drop or something a couple of years or maybe a year later. And I snagged it up. And then all of a sudden I started to notice like that your name was on like all these prints. And I'm like, oh, he's the same guy? He's doing all the ones I love, like all these movies I love. And then I'm going through my stuff and I hanging in the wall, like near my gym, I have Jason Takes Manhattan, the one that I think it was like 8-Bit Zombie maybe or something. The one where it's like the sky, yeah, you see like New York City, and I'm like, him again, like he did this one too, and then I started to really pay attention to your work after that, and man, I've got quite a bit of collection of your stuff because I just feel like when it comes to the movies that I like, and even Mel and Justin, we all are very similar in our taste, that you were doing a lot of prints of like the movies that I was just like in love with, like right on this side of me right here, that is Last Action Hero. The print,
oh, nice!
Freaking love that thing,
Yeah, that one's was kind of a miss, I think.
You didn't like this?
That movie. I love Last Action Hero.
But you didn't like the way the print came out?
No, I'm fine with that.
Oh, you're saying the movie was a miss in general, right?
See, I love the movie.
Right. Yeah.
I have the entire action figure set, like still on cards.
So does
Same. I got that.
Yeah. And
They're so shitty, but I love them.
But no, I just don't think it was received very well. People are like, why this movie?
I think like anything else in '93, I think Jurassic Park just kind of shit on everything. I think that's kind of what ended up happening.
To your point, though, like my whole thing has always been, you know, trying to do art or posters for movies that maybe didn't have a lot of art that currently existed. And like, there was no art for Last Action Hero. There was no art for Ernest Scared Stupid. All these films that, you know, I grew up on and loved, and I know other people loved too, but you weren't seeing much love for it in the poster world. So I kind of always aim to do in more niche titles or more nostalgic titles, but doesn't always mean big success. But
right.
You know, it's fulfilling, you know, selfishly.
Well, I mean, yeah, I love stories, and that's kind of why I wanted to break it in with like my story of kind of finding out who the person was or the name was behind all these prints that I was collecting. And when it comes to you, like, how did this all start for you? Obviously, had to have been an artist growing up, and was it just a love for movies? Like, how did this all turn into what it is now for you? Man, it's kind of like a snowball effect, really. I mean, I think I was always into art ever since I was really young. Like, I always drew. But like the short of it is that I started a band in 2003, and that band had some moderate success, and so I actually started designing our merch for the band. So that's how I got into using Photoshop and stuff like that, because we were too broke, as most musicians, to afford to pay other designers early on. So I just did it all. But then we would start touring with larger bands and more, you know, renowned bands, and then I would start designing their merch for them, and then it just, you know, so on and so forth. So that's how I got into design in general, graphic design and illustration. But it wasn't until in terms of posters where I actually saw the old, I think it was a Rolling Road Show Austin Mondo poster for Lost Boys that was done by an artist named James Dream Davis, who is now one of my best friends, which is also wild. I saw his art and I was like, what is this? Where did this come from? Alternative movie posters, what? Screen printed, what? So then from that point on, it just kind of became my goal to be like, I want to work. This is what I want to do. You know what I mean? I want to make posters. I want to work with Mondo. And I made it sort of like a goal that I'd set out to do, and turned out okay.
I'd say so.
I'd say so. I mean, to make it your full-time gig now, and I'm assuming, is music over for you now in your life as far as the band situation?
It's in a coma. It's comatose right now. But no, music's still very much, that's my lifeblood. Like, I always get in like arguments with my friends, like, would I rather be blind or deaf? Like, could I, you know, live without music or live without seeing art? Like, you know, that kind of sort of, you know, type of debate. I mean, I think sight's pretty good. I'd probably want to keep sight in the long run, but music is like oxygen to me. So it'll always be in my life one way or another, I think.
So I know Mel is pretty artistic, and she went to school for we've recently learned
this artistic
fashion. So I mean, I'm assuming she probably has some questions for you about, you know, that process, because I mean, out of all of us, she's the one with the most experience kind of in that realm.
Yeah.
I actually did want to talk to you a lot about your process. It was actually trying to get my hands on this poster that gave me the idea to hit you up and see if you wanted to come on and chit chat, because I absolutely love it. The experience of ordering that thing was an interesting one as well. But
I'm glad you were both able to get one.
well, our buddy that is a big fan that's going to come on, he didn't get one.
Oh no! Oh.
We were like kind of all three like chit chatting in a group minutes before it dropped, and we were like, okay, it's coming, and then we were like, all right, go. And then we were ordering, and me and Garrett got one and he didn't, so it's kind of sad, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's the Mondo way, though. It's the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that I've missed out on because you learn
Well,
tricks.
I was literally like, I looked at the clock and then I refreshed my screen and it was sold out. And I was like, dude, that sold out in 3 minutes.
Wow.
Like that was insane.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And like I think a lot of people too, they see like at least this kind of stuff that I see online is people thinking that it's like people buying a whole bunch of them at once and things like that. But I mean, I did a drop of Lost Boys in my own web store, the artist copies, and it was gone in a minute. But you can see like the analytics on your thing, and I can see every person who ordered it. And there was just one person. Most of the names I recognize too is like people who are collectors. And so it's just crazy, I think it's just a lot of people going for a small amount of things. 1 minute is like nothing when you have, I don't know, 500 people going for 100 posters, or something like that.
It takes like a minute just to get through the ordering process.
Yeah.
So I was super surprised to get my hands on one. But how do you go about choosing your projects? Do you choose them and then kind of try and sell them off to like Mondo, or does Mondo hit you up and say, hey, I got this project, do you want to work on it? I
mean, in the beginning, when I first started working for them, I think, oh God, I'm not even trying to guess how many years ago it was now, 7 or 8 years ago. I mean, I just wanted to work for them. So I would take anything that kind of came on the table, but luckily, like, they were all awesome properties. But as our relationship grew and stuff, I've pitched a lot of stuff. So if I just come up with an idea, I usually would send it off to Eric Garza, Rob Jones, or Mitch Putnam, and who were the creative directors there when Mondo was what Mondo was, and they would more often than not be like, hell yeah, like, they're some of the greatest creative directors on the planet, and just that original crew that worked there they were just very open to letting artists explore whatever, super niche titles, really weird indie films, all that kind of stuff. So it made for a lot of fun to be able to do, unique films and stuff.
So that's cool. So you would already have the idea in your head. My next question was going to be, how do you conceptualize something? Say Mondo is like, give me Last Action Hero. How do you go about trying to create that art in your mind before you put it on paper?
Oh, that's tough. I think I know pretty much right away whether or not I can even take on a certain property or certain film, because for me, it's very passion fueled. So if there isn't a spark there, I really don't like to force it, because I try to be more conceptual with a lot of my compositions, and try to sort of tell a story with like visual metaphor a lot of the time. And so if nothing's really jumping out at me, I probably won't do it, just because I feel like I'm not adding anything to the conversation. And, there's someone better suited for a certain title. So that's kind of tough. I would just say that there would have to be a spark, and usually the idea or a rough sort of concept will come into my brain within the first couple of minutes of hearing it. Not like fully rendered, just like, oh, I think I got an idea. I think I have a spark. There's something there to work with, whether I've seen the film or not,
Yeah. I think I was watching one of your interviews and you were talking about Henry and how you watched the trailer and then you had like this idea for a poster. And I was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I think it was Henry. And then I watched the film and I was like, ugh.
I mean, that's a good segue. Like, is there been other things where after you've done it, you're like, I wish I didn't put my name on that.
Yeah. Kind of.
Right.
Yeah. And again, but that trailer, I was like, ooh, dark, gritty, Chicago or whatever. Like, I just saw visuals, right? I just see colors and things like that. And Michael Rooker, great actor, like, then you watch the film and you're like, this is brutal. I'm not even enjoying this. But there was one recently that I worked on, but I won't say what it is, but there's a print that came out, and then I saw the movie after the fact, and I was like, oh.
We're going to find it.
Like, oh, the movie was bad, or oh, I missed the mark, or what?
No, the movie was bad. Like, not bad. It's just like not for me. Like,
right.
But I'm like, that movie rules enough to do a print for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, it's very rare, like, that I'll do something. Those two instances are probably the only time that I haven't watched a film and actually, soaked it all in. The one that I'm speaking of,
I think I know what it is.
more of a character poster, so it's not really a film poster.
Oh, okay. Maybe not.
Well, the Henry one ended up looking really beautiful anyway. So
Thanks.
There's that. I assume you use Photoshop for most of your stuff. I was tooling around on your Instagram. It looks like you do freehand sketch stuff. Do you sketch first and then Photoshop after, or do you just dive right in?
Yeah, I'm full blown Photoshop. And like old man, like if I was still using like CS2, I'd probably still be using it. Like I'm very caveman with my approach. It's like white piece of paper and a pencil. That's how I use Photoshop. You know, I had to like look up tutorials on how to make like a snow falling brush, like literally like last week. Like I'm very basic with it, right?
Isn't it amazing how they have all those different brushes now?
Yeah, right. Oh, the fact that you can make your own. I didn't even start making my own brushes till like this, maybe the last year or so. You know, for certain effects and things like this, so you're not drawing every flake of snow and making it look natural.
But that kind of leads into my next question. So AI has kind of been coming up a little bit in the artist realm. I'm assuming you don't use it, but how do you feel about it?
I feel the same way about it that every artist feels about it. You know, it's just, while there can be, I'll keep it simple. While AI can be utilized for some things, I don't think art is the thing it should be utilized for. Like, we kind of, and everybody's aware that we were sort of like, it's kind of tangible things are fleeting. You know what I mean? Everything's very digital. Everything's very lack of tactileness. And I feel like art is one of those things where having things like print and vinyl and books and then having our own tactile brains creating the art. I mean, it's a very personal thing. And so when it's just like entered into a computer and then generated and actually stealing other bits of other art that exists already, and it's just so problematic, you know. Not a fan.
I watched a YouTube video where a woman took a picture of herself and then she created like a 30-page comic book using AI, and I was like, that just takes like the beauty and the craft out of the whole thing.
Yeah, you're undermining the artists that spend years, you know, honing that craft.
Yeah.
And like that's where, like, for people who don't really understand that, you know, why it would affect maybe a freelance artist or any artist in general. I mean, I just think some people are just blissfully ignorant to it. Do you know what I mean? And then there are people that know what they're doing with it. But either way, yeah, it's a bit of a dangerous tool, I think, in terms of how I think it could affect art in general, like whether it's music, art, film, photography, all of those mediums that involve the human heart and brain to, you know, make it work. Take that out of it, and then everything's got no soul. You know what I mean?
And the prompts that AI uses is basically just like you said, just almost stealing styles and concepts and color palettes from all over the internet and just stealing from thousands of people at a time to create an image.
Yeah, I've had artist friends of mine who have literally been like, see this section of this, you know, AI rendered image, that's from this poster of mine, and it's just was in there, like, and people sell it, right? Or like the app was charging for it. I don't know. I'm far removed from it, but from what I know, it's just
Well, you would think eventually, in the end, everything will just look the same.
And I think when it comes to like people like us and collectors, like we see the differences. Like you can tell who each artist is by how they're doing certain things, right? And it's going to lose that. So I think the only thing that may hurt as far as this kind of stuff is big companies that don't want it, that want to do it on the cheap, right? Where that's the hard thing. I think when it comes to like people that really like this stuff, when it comes to the fans, I think you guys should be fine. I think it's just the big companies, if you want to expand and do all this other stuff with bigger companies, that they might look and be like, well, I can do it for nothing if I just press a button over here, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's there's like two kinds of people that will use that technology. Right. So, and that's the kind that you're like, you know?
I did have one last question. So I was looking for maybe a YouTube channel. I didn't really see one. Do you have one?
Do I have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever thought about starting one and just doing like tutorials or behind the scenes of you creating art or anything like that?
I just don't think, personally for me, I have a good like internet personality. I have a face for radio. You know what I mean? Like,
Come on.
Oh, no.
It's just not for me. I don't think. Friends have like talked to me about it and suggested it, and I see like how it could be fun, but yeah, I just don't think it's in my wheelhouse. Plus, I'm just super busy. I have 3 kids and I work all the time, so finding time to make for a quality YouTube channel of tutorials and helping out, I just don't think I have the brain capacity for it right now.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. There's way better people than me to learn from, so I'm still learning.
Well, I think Justin might have some questions for you too.
I had one big one as I'm looking at this piece from Mondo right here. There's one of my single favorite images in horror in general, like a wide shot, is this incredible piece right here, which is so incredible. One of my favorite movies. So when it comes to your favorite movies, is there any movie or franchise that you've been dying to do, but maybe you haven't, just that spark hasn't hit or the opportunity hasn't been there? Maybe something you're waiting for the right opportunity. What's that one movie? What's that one franchise that you are just waiting for the right time, right moment to tackle?
That's tough. I know there is one, and it's on the tip of my tongue too. It's hard because I've been very fortunate to work on like my bucket list in terms of working on properties is like pretty checked off. I mean, just working on like a million things for Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was enough to like quench my thirst forever. But yeah, a franchise that I'm just dying to do. I mean, there's a lot, like, but maybe not franchises, but films that I would really love to tackle, but I just haven't had that spark yet. Man, I'd say like They Live is a film that I absolutely love. And it's always in the back of my brain, like eating at the back of my brain to do something for it. But again, like I said before, I'm like, I don't have anything to add to the conversation yet, I don't think.
Is there any, you mainly dip into genre and stuff. Is there anything that you've thought about doing that maybe you've been apprehensive about because it may not be what you think fans of yours would be expecting, like a random like kids movie that you grew up with or something that's not even a genre thing like that?
I'll tell you one that was in the works. This is exclusive. In the works.
I love it.
Exclusive. Radpack exclusive.
At Mondo, not in the works, it was in conversations, but there's a film that I absolutely love, and I've had a concept in my brain forever. And I sent the concept over to Rob Jones, and he's like, we got to make this happen. But, it's just things happen. They take time. Things fall by the wayside. They get picked up and whatever. And then everything that happened at Mondo happened. And so don't know when that's going to see the light of day or if ever, probably never. But it's Pretty Woman.
Nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah. I love that film. Me and my wife love that movie. And I came up with a really cool poster for it that captures sort of zeitgeist of the era. So, yeah, that's one that's, again, it's like sits on in my documents folder just there for months and reminded me, got to make this happen somehow. You got to make this happen somehow.
It's such a good film. I hope you end up getting to do it. That'd be incredible. Yeah. Great movie.
Thanks. Me too. Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I really like when you kind of go outside the box of like the norm and the horror, because you can kind of tell, I think, with different styles that you have. Like, for instance, when it comes to how you do something or the detail you put in or the process or how long, does it all depend on what you're doing it for? Like, case in point, I have your Exorcist print, which is a great print, but you know, it's very couple colors, but then all of a sudden you look at like your Last Action Hero and it's like tons of stuff going on there, right? Talking about kids movies, I have your Sandlot print. I love the stuff that you're doing that's like outside that box, right? And it's so colorful. Like, do you make decisions on how much you're gonna like brighten certain things up, or is it just based on the property itself, or is it for a private commission? Do you do things different than if you did it for, let's say, Mondo or Bottleneck Gallery or anything like that?
I think it all just speaks to whatever the film I'm working on is. Like, I mean, like my normal rule of thumb is less is more, and I always prefer to go minimalist routes. Like, some of my favorite pieces are like posters I've done for like Blue Velvet, that Catwoman piece that you have behind there. I just like when you can tell a story with a singular image rather than throwing, you know, everything in the kitchen sink, you know, into it. But sometimes some films just a lot for that. Like Last Action Hero, you can't go subtle, you know?
Right.
And so with a poster like that, you're like, okay, we're going to do it on gold foil paper, and it's going to be like 12 colors because it's got to be outrageous. Or like my Paranorman that I just put out. I don't even know how many colors that is. It's like 15 or something. I think crazy. I think, yeah, it speaks to it has to do with the film as well. I think that more or less inspires how far I'm going to go in terms of palette and like, you know, bonkers sort of composition.
Mm-hmm. Like even your Ernest Scared Stupid print's pretty heavy. It's colorful, it's bright, it's big, you know, and there's a lot that went into that one as well. And that's actually one I don't own, but it's been on a Grail list forever. But it's a tough one to get a hold of for sure. Yeah,
that was a private commission from years back, and I think there was only 60 of them or 70 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have one. I think I have one in my archives. That's it.
Do you keep one of everything you've ever done?
I used to not, and then I learned from that. I used to just sell and be like, yeah, I sold them. And then be like, oh, wait, I have no record of these existing. And I would have to go back and go on eBay and rebuy back. So.
Wow, imagine that.
Oh, you were buying back, bro.
Wow.
Yeah. I recently messed up, and I did a poster for Terminator a little while back. And I did this metallic red paper variant. And it was my favorite version because the studio allowed us to put, can I swear on your channel?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. But they let us put the "fuck you asshole" on the poster and like approved it. And I was like, that's so awesome. And then when I put the drop in my store, I oversold them. I miscounted my stock. And I didn't know until I was packing the orders out, and I went, oh no. And now, so I still don't have one. So yeah, but so now I keep 5, you know, for a rainy day. Always 5 in the archives. Yeah.
Nice. So I mean, a lot of information, which is huge. So I think now, just to keep this rolling, we'll bring Tim is here. I'll bring him in and just see what he has in store for you. I'm sure he's probably got a couple questions he's curious about. I have no idea what he's going to ask you. If he tries to get you to give him one of those Lost Boys prints, just let him know that they're all gone. Okay.
Sure.
Tim, what's up, man?
Hey, oh my God. I feel like I'm on with a rock star right now. I am such a fan.
We didn't warn him about your gushing, Tim.
Uh-oh.
Gush away.
Yeah, I'm fanboying a little bit here. I have like a whole bunch of your prints behind me on the floor. This is fantastic. So I guess I'll dive right into my first question, which there's a lot of collaborations out there. We've seen Ferguson and Flory work together. We've seen Perillo and Whalen work together. Is there anyone in the space that you would love to work with?
Oh, yeah. And there's a few that we've talked about working on stuff together. Me and one of my best friends in the whole world, actually, they're both my best friends in the whole world, Jason Edmiston.
Oh.
Yeah, I pitched him an idea. I won't say what in case it happens, but of us doing something together. And the other artist would be Gary Pullen, who I've been trying to get to do a collaboration, both basically like a Canadian sandwich of a poster or something. But those, I think that like my style is essentially all of those dudes put together into one. Like they were my mentors. I looked up to them. So I think it would be really fun to kind of work together on something and collaborate on one poster.
Oh yeah, your style totally vibes with them, and I was also thinking your style also reminds me of like Sarah Deck.
Yeah. So basically all the Canadians, right? We all there's me. I just sounded Canadian saying that. There's me, Jason Edmiston, Gary Pullen, Sarah Deck, Phantom City Creative, which is Justin and Paige Erickson, and we're all within like 30 minutes of each other, drive. Wow. So we spent a lot of time together. And I idolized all of them growing up. So, and then I just like snuck my way into their lives, so.
That is awesome. So I guess that kind of segues into also, who are some of your favorite artists in this space? Even if they're not ones that you talk to often, like your friends, who are some that you really look up to, that you love in the alternative movie poster space?
Right away, Sunny Day and Biddy Maroney. We buy your kids, love them to death. I mean, a lot of these people are also my friends too. I'm lucky enough that that were also, you know, close, but they're two of my favorite artists in the world. Another is Tula Lotte. I'm a huge fan of her work. It's my dream to get an original commission piece by her. If we're ever in the same space in person. Who else? My buddy Luke Priest. Luke Priest is really blowing it out of the water right now. He's doing killer work. There's so many incredible artists out there. Just to be in like this same vicinity, similar vicinity as all of them is daunting and inspiring.
You sound like you're very comfortable and happy within this space. So Ollie Moss was huge in the space, but he ended up leaving to pretty much pursue like video games. Are you happy right now with this, or have you ever thought like, I want to take my skills also into this field? You
know, I think a lot of artists maybe started thinking that during like the pandemic, because things were so up in the air. A lot of people were second guessing everything in their lives, I think. But you know what? I am very happy. I was going to say content, but content is like complacent. No, I'm very happy doing what I do now. And I don't, you know, working in the realm of film posters, but I also do album artwork and, you know,
yes.
Other things that I do, like merchandise sometimes, but I don't really kind of like show the merch stuff online. I just focus on the more art derived stuff. But yeah, I have nothing like really like pulling at me to kind of like depart what I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? Everything's very good right now. So yeah, I'm just surfing. I'm just cruising right now.
As a fan, I'm very happy to know that there'll be plenty more prints in the future. I got into this hobby right as the tail end of Ollie being in, and I never ended up getting any of his prints because he pretty much left shortly after I got into it.
Yeah. I have Ollie's Die Hard poster.
I tried for it. That was tail end. I tried. You know how Mondo drops could be.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of my last questions, since you mentioned about album artwork too, how amazing was it to work with your daughter?
Oh, like every time I look at that thing, I well up. You know, it's pretty special. It's, if not for just that fact, it's my favorite thing that I've ever done. I know that sounds like on the nose, but I'm dead serious. Like the amount of pride that I felt when I saw that thing completed, you know, and then Mo and Spencer and Mondo went out of their way to like put her credit on the Obi strip on the side, and she had her name signed on the inside as well. Like, it's just like, that's how much I love the original people from that company. Like, they just made incredible things happen, and like that would have never happened without them, you know? And something that her and I will kind of have, you know, even when she won't even remember doing it, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's super special to me for sure.
Yeah, and for sure what we were saying with Mondo is definitely, as much as it's a name, it was the people.
It was the people. Yeah, it was not a faceless company by any means.
And do any of your kids have ambitions on art? Do you see that? And right now, you think they'll follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, Ava. Yeah, my daughter, the one who collaborated with me on that, she draws every single day, everywhere, every minute. She's got like several art spaces spread all around the house. She's always drawing. We noticed in the car the other day, she got pencil crayons out and started drawing on the inside door of the car. And we're like, oh no. Well, no.
That's amazing.
So, but yeah, she's super artistic. So it's nice. Normally she's in my office with me. I have like a drafting table, and if I'm in here working, she's just drawing or trying to draw whatever I'm drawing, you know? But we just moved recently, which is why my space doesn't look as cool as y'all's spaces. Just moved in. But yeah, normally she's in here drawing with me and stuff like that too.
Well, your space still looks nice. What kind of art do you have on the wall there?
Behind me there is 2 original gig posters, Smashing Pumpkins gig poster screen prints from 95 and 96 by Mark Arminsky. On that wall, I have Richie Beckett's White Pony art print that he did for Revolver. And then beside that is, I have a collab print that Sunny Day and Biddy Maroney, and I think it was just Sunny on that one, I can't remember. But him and Jason Edmiston did like a collab of each other's artwork. So that's all that's up right now. And then I got a couple of posters up here, but it's all just, it's roughed in right now. It's not the full studio experience yet.
Yeah, I think that's. I could keep going with questions over and over again.
We're gonna cut Tim off.
No, but man, hey Tim, thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to get you on to do this. I know timing and stuff was tough, just making sure you were here on, to get it done. But man, thank you so much. I know me and you, huge poster people. We talk all the time about it and whatnot. So it was awesome to have you on here asking those questions because it was great info.
Yes, I very much so appreciate it. And I will be seeing you in person because I'm coming to Mini MassCon. When that got
Mini MassCon, November 4th.
Wait, the one in Massachusetts there, you're coming?
Yeah, I'm going to that, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be there, dude.
Oh, right on.
Heck yeah.
Looking at that lineup of artists with $10 admission, of course I'm making that fun.
I might have to send you guys a poster.
Yeah, for sure. No, send it our way.
Yeah, that's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, I'm glad something was put together because I never got to go to a Mondo Con, and now there's no such thing as a Mondo Con, so...
I honestly feel for you. I was lucky enough to do 3 of them, and there's nothing like it. Like, it was so not to rub it in or anything, but it was the best thing that'll ever happen ever.
Yeah, well, anytime you get a bunch of people with the exact same passion and love in one space, this hobby is niche. So getting a whole bunch of people with that same love together, I can just imagine. Yeah,
it's just good vibes. It's chill, and it's all people who love art talking about art and music and good food, and it's just. And then you're across the aisle from who at the time I didn't know, Alex Pardee and these massive Drew Struzan, and you're like, this is so wild to be here, Yeah. And it was great. Hopefully, hopefully something else like that happens in the future, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be an equivalent or something like that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hard crossed.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Tim, again. I appreciate it so much. I know we all do.
Yes. Thank you so much.
No, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye, brother.
Bye, Tim.
That was awesome.
Tim's the man. That was I'm so glad he was able to get on here and chat with you because our boy was really excited. As we all are, of course. And when you mentioned Drew Struzan, which by the way, I just saw an article today that an original artwork that he did for a Molly Hatchet album cover sold for $6 million.
What?
$6 million original Drew's.
Oh
no! You know what? I realized that it was Frank Frazetta.
Frank Frazetta, yeah.
It was Frank Frazetta.
Starting rumors over here, Justin.
I know. I'm getting my things, but thinking about that, it did spark a question, and I just have one more question, Mel and Garrett. I'm not gonna go crazy here. I tend to ramble with questions, but I was just thinking about, since we're talking about movie posters and we're talking about people like Drew Struzan and things like that, I want to be very careful about how I ask this because I don't want to insult any artist and I don't want to be disrespectful to artistry as a whole. But how do you feel about the current state of modern studio and even some indie studios poster art, key art for movies? In my personal opinion, when I see artwork from yourself and your contemporaries, I see the alternative art, and then I'll see original posters for movies that are coming out all the time, and I just don't feel that they're inspired, or maybe they're just studio heads controlling the artist and not even letting them do what they want to do. How do you feel about the current state of modern movie poster art in general, like corporate studio art? Because I feel like it's really lacking, because back in the day we used to have those amazing hand-drawn compositions and just really inspired art. We all go on eBay and buy vintage posters. You don't see that too often with new movies.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
That's kind of a layered question because there's a lot of sort of layers to it to answering that correctly and fully. But I think, most of the time when you see key art that's, what people, Gen Pop would call, a photoshopped poster, Photoshop heads or whatever. They exist for a purpose. There are certain people who don't how do I explain this? they kind of have to exist alongside the more alternative posters, because when you're working with things like theater marquees or Netflix or little thumbnail headers, they kind of need to be recognizable from a distance, from the small. It's all marketing, it's all math, it's all that kind of stuff. So that exists for pretty much the sole purpose of like attention grabbing, or like, oh, I recognize this right away. This pulls me in, blah, 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 blah. I like this actor. I like, you know, these colors. Oh, I know that this is a Marvel film because it looks like this. You know what I mean? It's all tests and studied and done to how people, you know, focus groups and everything react to those things. Now, and so they kind of have to exist for that reason, and I understand, you know. But when it comes to the alternative poster, I mean, a lot of the time, like people at the studios want to have more of this type of art, but it has to do with like how can we get an artist to do this, factor it into, I don't know, the budget or whatever of the promo for the film. There's a million reasons. But I will say to you that in the time that I've been a professional poster artist, like the amount of studios that now would go directly to Mondo to have them find an artist, or go to Mondo to reach out to an artist that Mondo's worked with to do posters directly for the studio, is like tenfold. So if anything, now more than it's gotten better over time, is what I'm trying to say in simpler form. It's way better now than it was 10 years ago. You'll see it a lot more now, especially around like indie films and horror films. I think it's because like those types of movies are more art derived a lot of the time, or they come from a more art derivative place maybe. So they're more inclined to kind of do an illustrated movie poster or do a more artistic conceptual poster than, let's say, I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, I think it's better now than it's ever been, honestly. I mean, now I have studios coming directly to me to do key art. A24 is a great film company that they're definitely on board with original artwork for their films. But then they also have their key art, right? There's always multiples that exist, sometimes up to 6 posters. Depends on market, test studies. Then there's like the film fan and the art fan and the collector who wants to collect a really nice piece of art. So that's always in the back of studios' heads as well, you know, depending on the film, I think, more or less.
Yeah, that answer makes a lot of sense. And I kind of figured it's kind of that corporate test group thing that exists and they've got it figured out. So that does make sense. Thanks for answering about that. Cause I that's always, it just bugs me when I want every poster to be like eye popping and amazing, like a true work of art. But sometimes, of course. Yeah. Sometimes it's not all about, hey, look how amazing this art is. It's like, hey, you know, here's some things about the movie that we need you to be conveyed.
Like I'll give you a little bit of insider baseball. Like I've had clients come to me, studios come to me and say, okay, here's like, I've executed a concept for them. Here's this. And they're like, okay, well, can you make this aspect of it bright red? Or can you make this aspect of it way bigger and remove all these other things? Or can you do whatever? It'll be some type of really bold choice to change the composition. And their reasoning is so that it can be legible at 1 inch tall.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
So that, you know, as an artist, you're like, well, then what are you hiring me for? You know, a little bit, it's like, what's the point of it, of this big? You're sort of like compromising the integrity of the artwork to have something legible at this big on someone's phone. Right. That's maybe it's not the purpose. That's why we do. Sometimes you'll go on Netflix and you'll see it's just a still from the film. It'll be like, you know, this is for you. Because it's recognizable right away. Yeah. Well, so that's what that stuff is better fit for. So, but yeah, sometimes you'll get those kind of notes and you're like, I don't know if this is the right thing for this, you know? Yeah. Let's 24 by 36, you know, 27 by 40. Let's do it. 1 inch. Yeah. about the degree of 5 o'clock shadow at 1 inch tall.
But that is really interesting because back in the day, the only way you'd see movies art is usually like in a full page spread in a magazine or at theater in a marquee. It's just, I guess that's interesting. It's just completely different now. People are looking for movies on their phone or their tablets and things like that. So Interesting. That's awesome, man.
Very, very interesting for sure. You can see, obviously, we collect different things, right? More or less movie oriented. We always want to ask our guests if they're collectors of anything. It could be screen prints, movies, vinyls. Do you collect?
I am a huge collector of things. I've kind of slowed down. It's a bit of a luxury now, as I have kids, so I gotta, not buy toys for me. I gotta buy toys for them. But it's good. I've learned to sort of like pull back on my collecting and really focus on the pieces that I want to keep. But like that closet right there is literally floor to ceiling tubs of figures, statues, props.
Oh, nice. Stuff
all sealed and sort of and they're all still like I said, I had the Last Action Hero, all those guys on card. I have Toxic Crusaders full set, the original Bill and Ted figures.
Oh yeah.
A lot of stuff from my childhood, right? Like all of us, we try to track down the stuff we couldn't get maybe when we were younger.
Sure do.
Also, a big vinyl collector. I have a lot of. You can see 1/8 of my shelf right there. Lots of books and also I collect posters as well.
I've got
2 flat files that are just my collection.
Do you keep everything like in here, or do you put some of the artwork around the house in other areas? Because sometimes we get
around the house. We have a couple. We haven't put up anything out there yet. My wife wants to paint and make everything look perfect, and then she has to go through and make sure that what I'm hanging is good. But in the house, I put out more like art-based prints, so not so much movie posters, like with building blocks and stuff. But I kind of like that look too, very minimalist. So I know we had some like Jake Bannon pieces hanging, John Baisley, some Sunny Day and Biddy Maroney pieces hanging. Really sort of focusing more on art prints, but in my office, it's like no holds barred. It's all posters, and I try to jam the walls with whatever I can.
No, that's awesome. Definitely a good takeaway. So it's mostly for you. It's like the figures that you're collecting, more old school stuff that you're coming back to.
Yeah, I mean, I used to collect newer stuff as well, like a lot of stuff, the horror stuff that NECA was putting out. But like I find that the stuff that I really cherish is the older stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff from my childhood. Like I look at it, it sparks joy. To hold it. You know what I mean? Because collecting can get out of control too, where you're just buying stuff just because. And you're like, yeah, but do I even like the piece? No, but I like to have more of it. So I got really bad for me at one point. I had so much stuff, and I sold it all off, but kept the good stuff.
It can get out of hand quick. That's for sure.
Yeah. What is not out of hand is that T2.
He's it.
That's the arcade. It's a company called Arcade 1-Up, and they do tons of it's a little.
It's like
new, right? It's a new modern one. It's kind of like 3/4 scale, but they have tons. Tron and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're rad. They're super cool.
Potentially, hopefully, working on a pinball machine this year.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so fingers crossed. It's been in the works for like 2 years, trying to get it off the ground.
Is it Elm Street?
Wow.
It's going to take me months to do it, but then I'll have something big and awesome.
Now, is it something? Are you going to do the art for it, or is it something you're going to buy?
Oh, I'm designing it.
Oh, you're designing it.
And then,
there's designs on every component of those things. Like that's a lot of intricate art.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. Yeah, but if it pans out the way it's supposed to, it's going to be fucking awesome. So fingers crossed.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's killer. You've given us a lot of exclusives today, so I appreciate that. Now,
I told you I can ramble.
Is there anything else that you can kind of tell us that any properties that or movies that that you can see in the future? Because I definitely think we all have probably a couple that we would love to see you tackle someday. Some of our favorites and maybe you're going to come back and be like, I already did that one. Like I don't know, but I know you mentioned Trick or Treat, and I'm not sure which one you were talking about, but I mean the one with Sammy Kerr I think would be pretty killer of a print for you to do, considering your
Sammy Kerr one. I would have jumped on it. I probably
but I think that's one, like, especially having a background in music and stuff, I'm like, oh man, that would be a pretty cool, collaboration with you.
That movie's getting its second wind right now, or maybe third wind at this point. I don't know, but I always thought it was awesome. I only ever had like a crappy bootleg version of it. I'd love to do a poster for Trick or Treat. Another one they offered me was the Sam
one, yeah,
which I love. I love that film as well. But I was just like, let's go less popular, because that's what I was. Let's go with what less people like.
Encino Man, I feel like you did it.
Encino Man is one that I definitely want to do.
So have you not done that one at all?
I did an art print early on in my career for Bottleneck Gallery. 10 years ago. Must have been 10 years ago. And it was just an art print of Link and Stoney riding the roller coaster, but it was like a Slurpee machine, and it was all colorful and wacky.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, but it was, again, like I said to you earlier about doing concepts that I was like not equipped to pull off yet, and that was one of those. There was like, it's too much. It was overkill, but I'd love to do Encino Man. Yeah, Little Monsters is another one I've always wanted to do.
Oh man, speaking our language over here.
Yeah, go ahead, Mel. Ask him which one you want.
Well, I think we all know that I would love to see a Burbs.
Yeah,
The Burbs.
I agree.
No, I love the Burbs too, but I think I had an idea for the Burbs forever, but I mean, it kind of gives it away in the movie. But I wanted to do an Exorcist sort of trope on or parody on the Burbs, but I think it's been done at this point, I imagine. So that is definitely one that's on my list of want to do's.
Now, because you're getting a lot of commissioned out, do you ever do what you want to do and just throw it on your site, or is that not something that you do anymore, or just because of all the stuff you're doing, is that just not even in the cards?
I rarely get time to kind of work on personal projects unless they have a sort of like purpose of making them release. So like if I do an exclusive for a convention that I'm attending, that's still kind of work though. I mean, but yeah, I rarely have time to work on anything that's not work. Yeah. But it's also, there's a thing where, because I work with studios and everything that I do is licensed, you don't want to step on toes by doing artwork that's unlicensed as well. I mean, a lot of us start out doing that, because you're just trying to make as much art as you can. But then, it's like once you're in the club or in the building or whatever, it's like, well, you don't want to, do the wrong thing, piss off the wrong people. So, I try to do everything as legitimate. Like I'll just reach out to, I've actually started looking into getting licenses myself, and I've acquired 2 so far. So when I released a Cobra Kai print based on my artwork, and I just figured it out for myself, you know what I mean? And reached out, and, but I wanted to be legit always. So.
So yeah, all those movies that we just talked about possible prints. I mean, if you can get one done for November for that MassCon, I'll definitely be there. Pick it up. But man, it was awesome having you here. Mel, Justin, do you guys have anything else you want to add? Because I think he's answered everything that I was looking for.
We've covered so much. I couldn't think of another question to ask. This has been absolutely incredible, man.
Yeah, this was super fun.
I had so much fun talking to you all, and I hope that this isn't the last time, because this was a blast. I've never really done this before, so it's maybe once or twice, but yeah, I had a blast talking with all of you. I feel like I know you.
Well, I find all this stuff so fascinating because we're so entrenched in, genre films and all this. So like the most behind the scene, even if it's like the smallest piece of information, we're just big nerds and we go crazy for it. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would love to do this again. And, maybe we'll find like a perfect drop to bring you back on and chat about. And hopefully, you've got all your stuff set up back there. And, by that time,
you'll have all your neons and all
like the basement bedroom or whatever.
Yeah,
he's going to look, he's going to have neons going. He's like, how do I look?
You'll have to have your pinball machine back there.
Yeah, for real. But Matt, thank you so much, man. This was awesome. And again, I'll make sure to come and chit chat with you in November over at the Mass.
Yeah, please do. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to get to talk to all of you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your time with us. This was really cool. When I reached out to you, I wasn't sure I'd even hear back.
No. Anytime. You won't be able to get rid of me. Be careful.
Hey, dude, I'm all for it. And we'll make sure when we drop this, it'll be on YouTube and also on our audio podcast. And we'll tag you in Instagram and stuff like that. So
I'll shoot you an email and I'll let you know.
For
Awesome.
sure.
Hey, Matt, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I know we all do.
All right. Lots of love.
Take care, man.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in to the Radpack podcast, and a huge shout out and big thank you to Matt Ryan Tobin for sitting down with us today. What a fantastic conversation and a super interesting guy. Be sure to follow all of your Radpack hosts on social media. Our links are down below, as well as links to our merch stores. Support the Radpack by picking up a t-shirt today. Thank you guys. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.